And this is One Leeds, and this is the Rumour Mill. This is One Leeds. Welcome back to the latest video. This video, as always, is sponsored by Shop GNO, The Job Match Group, and Match Bingo. Let's get into it. First up, the Job Match Group. Whether you're looking for your next big gig or just browsing, the Job Match Group has niche job sites made just for you. F1, retail, security, and loads more. They're about matching the right person to the right job. Make sure you check them out if you're ready to level up your career. Then we've got Shop GNO, an exciting new e-commerce site where you can grab exclusive deals and discounts. Right now, One Leeds has an affiliate link just below where you can score a 25 quid membership for free, unlocking special rates and benefits. You can even list your own shop on there with way better rates than Amazon, eBay, and Vinted. They've got some Leeds bits and some general bits now and launching soon, plus some great prizes just for signing up. This is all powered by a massive Leeds United fan looking to make waves in the online shopping world. So check them out and support your local. And don't forget our mates at Match Bingo. They're smashing it with footy fun. You can get 5 bingo cards for the price of 4 through One Leeds, and you can even deposit just a £5 at a time to join the action. It's a big chance to win whilst having a blast with your fellow Leeds United friends. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Check the links in the description, and let's get on with the video. Hello, everybody. My name is Conor McGilligan. This is One Leeds, and of course, this is the Rumour Mill. What is going on in your world? Listen, let us know in the comment section below. Make sure you're engaging, you're interacting, and the way you do that, everybody, is by commenting in the section below. I always read every single comment, especially post-stream, everybody, so make sure you're getting involved in the section below. We had a combined view list yesterday of 35,000 views on the 5 things that we spoke about when it came to Lucas Perri and, of course, the Igor Paixão video in the morning. Paixão, I should say. Listen, today we're going to be speaking about Gus Hamer. Today we're going to be speaking about Igor Paixão and the development there, which is interesting. Very interesting. We have got the notepad out today, everybody. And by God, it goes onto different pages. So you know I've done my research. So yes, everybody, we're going to be getting into that. We're going to be getting into the Sunderland and Leeds conversation, which I'm finding fascinating at the minute. Absolutely fascinating when it comes to the comparisons of the squad. We're going to be speaking about custom lineups and where said Gustavo Hamer may fit in. We're also going to be speaking about, at the end, Lucas Perri and nonsense I've been reading online, which I'll be honest with you, has got me a little bit hot under the collar. Okay, so listen, I'm all about subjectivity. I am, but there is some absolute nonsense going around, which we've got to get into at the end, everybody. So as I say, if you're enjoying the streams, listen, we had 2,200 of you live yesterday, which is unbelievable. We had 2,100 of you live beforehand as well. If you are new to a One Leeds stream, everybody, a Rumour Mill stream, this is what we do. We go for around about 45 minutes an hour. We get your comments in. We make sure you guys are getting your thoughts in as well. I don't want it to become an echo chamber. Balanced thoughts, as long as they're respectful in the chat. Let's get into it. Let's see who is there. Good lad, Sujal. Thanks for letting me know, mate. And I'm not even going to touch on that anymore, pal, to be honest with you. It's getting very, very boring. Yes, caught you live. Big up. Shout out to you, Carl. Morning, Connor. Morning, all. Let's get this show started. Indeed, mate. Can we Niners work like ninja style? Look at Bali. Even the journalists in Germany didn't know it was happening, so expect the same with Paixão. Kim's here as well, but good morning, Kim. Good morning, mate. Hit me with some good news. Good to see you, buddy. Tuning in from the Eurostar from Brussels to Paris. Hoping the connection can hold up for the live. At least you can get back on it, Daniel, when you're in a nice location, mate. But it sounds good, man. Harris does not try and jinx it, but I think it's false. If you look at the post, the link journalist didn't say anything, just the OM fan channel trying to create a story. We'll get onto that, buddy. Slap to like. Thank you so much full of what? How's it going out over there, man? Mark, good morning. Good morning, Clive. Good morning from New Zealand. See all the Kiwis in here. James, thanks for the help yesterday as well, buddy. And everybody, let's get into it, shall we? But before we do, we've got 1,200 of you in the building. Guys, thank you so much for your constant support on the channel. It means the world to me. Check out our sponsors. And yeah, we will, as always, get into your thoughts. Shout out to Knock. Shout out to Dublin. Shout out to Zach. Hello, everybody. Hell, it's a lot of Southern Hemispheres in the building, obviously with the time lapse and all that sort of stuff. Okay, notepad out, discussion, discourse base, discussion debate, discourse fully on this morning, turned up to 10 on the max. Okay, let's get into it. Gustavo Hamer and Leeds United, what's the latest? Soccernews.nl. Now, this came out yesterday, and there was a lot of, and I'm not gonna talk about a specific publication, and I'm sure you guys are aware of it. There was a specific publication that you're reading online. Leeds United are in negotiation right now with Gustavo Hamer. No, we're not. And it's such like lazy, if you want to call it journalism, you call it journalism. It's lazy writing. The headline's lazy. Leeds are currently not in negotiation with Gustavo Hamer, everybody. They are not. We can talk about this right now. Leeds are apparently, according to this specific Dutch publication, soccernews.nl, there was negotiation at one stage with Leeds United and Gustavo Hamer, but this certain Leeds United publication has quoted it and effectively said, and I've been linked to it a million times since yesterday, and said, Leeds are currently in negotiation. Leeds close in on Hamer deal. No, they're not. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. When it comes to the midfield, Varka said that he's okay with it right now. When it comes to that central compartment, obviously the defense as well, he said they're sorted when it comes to central defenders as well, which would sort of insinuate that Pascal Struijk isn't going anywhere. But when you actually translated the specific article when it comes to soccernews.nl, I don't know if it's lost in translation, but the negotiation, it sort of, when you read between the lines, can really fill down to just inquiries and maybe just ask a question about Gustavo Hamer at Sheffield United, and that could have been at any point. There wasn't any specific reference to when the negotiation had been started or when it was finished or if it has finished. So this could have been at any point. So the negotiation and Leeds talking with Gustavo Hamer, this could be happening. Do I think it is happening? I don't right now. I think Leeds United, when you're looking at the midfield, and we're going to get into the midfield right now, it doesn't make that much sense right now, especially when you're kind of looking at our formation going into this season, and it appears to be fluctuating from a 4-2-3-1, which I don't see as a 4-2-3-1. I see it as an adapted 4-3-3 to an actual flat 4-3-3 in essence. And we'll just get the visual up right now. And if Leeds are going with this, obviously we see the new signing in there, and we're going to get new signings in throughout the window as well. Leeds aren't done yet, but I don't see where Hamer fits into this. Obviously, there is going to be a variation when it comes to that box four with someone like Ampadu coming in. You add Hamer in there, and no matter what it is, even if it is a number 10, it's another midfielder. It's a fifth, it's a sixth midfielder if you're still talking about Gruev in there as well. So, yeah, I don't see how this works. I understand Hamer would be a very different profile to what we've got in that box four in terms of the midfielders. But overall, I don't see it as something that happens. And this specific article, when we're quoting it the other day, soccernews.nl was saying that negotiation maybe was a thing of the past. So there is no negotiation, in my opinion, when you're reading between the lines when it comes to Leeds United and Sheffield United. I've made this point abundantly clear before. If Leeds United wanted to go and get Gustavo Hamer, taking my white tinted glasses off and the arrogance hat off, I do believe they'd be able to do it. Gustavo Hamer and his representatives have said that he wants a move to the Premier League. He's happy in Sheffield, but he wants to move to the Premier League. No problem, Gus. You don't have to move, mate. It's 40 minutes down the road and you'll be in the Premier League. I think Leeds United are waiting on some of their targets. Now, look, could there be a scenario where Leeds United don't go and get a creator, and then they're looking at maybe going for Gustavo Hamer as a creator in that front four? Potentially. Maybe Leeds won't go out and get a left winger if they fail on Paixao, and maybe they'll go out and get a Gustavo Hamer who can play left wing, who can play central. Okay, maybe that will happen. You look at Gustavo Hamer's numbers last year, he got voted the best player in the Championship, left wing. Wide left when he's a central attacking midfielder. So Leeds United may look at that versatility and think, do you know what? We'll go out and do that. That works. And that does make sense. And it also makes sense as to why Leeds United inquired about him at Coventry and why Leeds United inquired about him at Sheffield United last season. All of it makes sense. I think Sheffield United actually developed him last year, in all credit to them, because now we know that he can play for a full season wide left very effectively, not just in that central space. So a lot of conversation there. There's been a lot of discussion about Palmeiras in Brazil being very interested in him. That's been quelled. Apparently, representatives close to his camp only want a Premier League move, which is why it's not gone to a certain level with PSV as well. So if Leeds wanted to do it, it would make a lot of sense in terms of if it didn't work out with some of our creatives going forward. I think Leeds are looking at a higher brow with the greatest of respect. And you look at some of the targets that we're going to be speaking about in this video, Leeds are looking at a higher brow. Would I not want Gustavo Hamer? I mean, flipping out, if you're offering me someone like Gustavo Hamer, in contrary to what Daniel Farke said, of course you'd take him. Of course you'd take him. My pick would be El Canous in that creator role. And it would depend what Leeds are doing when it comes to the formation and the pragmatism and what we're going to be doing. And we're going to be varying where you put Hamer in for certain games and then take him out for others. But there is also an argument that he's not a number 10. There is an argument that Gus Hamer could play on the left of almost a shadow striker 9.5 role, very close to that sort of number 9, even almost in a front 2, really, just in behind, not as an out and out striker, but just in behind that forward player. But also, could he play in a 3? Could he play in a 3, which is what we've just spoken about in that custom formation there as a number 8, Maybe you'd need someone who's a little bit more mobile, but Hamer's defensive numbers are good. They are good. It's just overblown that he's lazy, he's this, that, and the other. But he would have to finish games. We have to be well aware of that. So there's a lot of conversations here when it comes to Gus. Is he in negotiation with Leeds? Well, apparently, according to his publication, he has been. There's no time on this, when it stopped, when it started. So I'm a little bit dubious on that. PSV apparently are keen on him, but he's not wanting to go out there. Palmeiras, it's not even a starter, apparently, even though they're interested. So it feels like if Leeds wanted to make that move, Leeds would be able to get Gustavo Hamer. I think it's the likelihood that we'd be the club that would do it. But I think it would only make sense if it fell down in other areas right now. Sound gone. Is that true? Sound's playing up. Is that right? Right, hold on. Let me just try listen to it. Stay with me. My God, this is doing my head in. Is it right? Is it fine? Cutting out? There's a problem with the sound? Okay, on my YouTube, it's absolutely fine. So let us know, everybody. I'm going to check my phone anyway. We'll just have a little break in play here. If the sound is off, there's been nothing here from anyone. Normally, I get a message from people. Lads, let us know if it is. Let us know in the WhatsApp chat if it's going. Is it good? I'm cutting out. My sound's fine. Sounds okay. There was a lot of people there saying it was out. So let me know. We'll take a pause on the stream before we get into something else. I can see people in the WhatsApp chat. Sounds fine, Con, says Deck. Shout out to you, mate. In and out. Fine for me. Fine. Sounds fine. It's cutting out. Fine. Fine. It's fine on my YouTube. So let us know. I'm not gonna go ahead until we, and then we'll put the timestamps in. Sound on YouTube's fine. It went funny for about 5 secs. Sounds good, says Lee. Top man. Yeah, okay. Some lads on dial-up. Yeah, okay. Reboot YouTube. Your sound is on and off, Connor. Was cutting out, bro, but it's fine now. Hold on. Let me just try something. Audio advanced properties. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Oh, I don't know. All good. Restarted YouTube and it's fine now. Okay, maybe it's YouTube. I keep getting this, that people restart YouTube and it's fine. If you are, it's still cutting out for you, Chris. Right. What I would say, everybody, is it's not. I don't think it's me. I think it is actually YouTube, because people seem to be rebooting YouTube and it's fine. So you can start a little bit further out. It's working for me. Not sure why it isn't for everyone. Yeah, just restart. That's what I'd say. Just restart the show. Okay, right. Annoying, but hopefully that's all good. Hopefully it's all good. Right, we'll move on to Igor Paixão. Get into a few comments as well about, let's have a look. Sounds great. Okay. Yeah. Anyone else's audio? Not okay. It's all good. Good. Okay. It's all good now, mate. Restarted YouTube. That's what it seems to be. So, guys, what I'm just gonna say right now is, I think when it's coming to all this, I'm getting it from obviously people who I trust as well, and you in the chat who I trust, not just some trolls who are coming in trying to debunk it and trying to have a bit of loserish fun. But if you restart YouTube, it seems to be working. My brother's just messaged me and said the exact same. He restarted YouTube and it's fine. So there we go. Maybe it's a YouTube issue. Who knows? Okay, right. We are going to move on, everybody, from Gustavo Hamer because the chat has just been clogged right now with obviously sound issues. Right. Okay. What we're going to do now is get on to Gustavo. We're going to get on to Igor Paixão. So Igor Paixão, I'm going to absolutely break down everything. I'm going to absolutely break down everything when it comes to Igor Paixão, the issues that we might be facing right now, but not only that, the other clubs that are interested, which are causing the issues, okay? So we're going to start off with Roma. So according to several reports this morning, Roma are now involved in the race. Now, this doesn't make any sense to me. This doesn't make any sense. After the Evan Ferguson signing, if you actually read Roma Press and read stuff in and behind the journalistic reports in Italy, Damasio, etc., Roma have an outlay of around about 30 million euros left to spend when it comes to all of their, financial complications this season. So that's what they've got to spend left in the window. Okay. So that completely debunks them in for Paixão. Now, why does this debunk them in for Paixão, Connor? They've got 30 million euros. Well, because they're not going to spend that just on one signing. Roma need to debunk. They need to refresh their side when it comes to centre-back reinforcements, right-back reinforcements, midfield reinforcements. They're not going to just spunk that all on Paixão. Also, we have to bear in mind here when it comes to Feyenoord. We have to bear in mind here when it's Feyenoord that this is going to be something that they want up front. The structure of their deal, what they want, and what the whole issue with Marseille has been with Feyenoord is they want more of a deal up front. They want a structured payment where there is upfront deals basically straight away. They want faster payments as well when it comes to installments. So we're going to get into that in just a second. Roma can't afford it. So that's a non-story for me. Absolute non-story, especially when you do a little bit of research into Roma's backing. They're going to have to do a lot of sales to be able to stump up that fee. We know about amortization, which is obviously spreading that transfer fee over the contractual time and length to balance the books. We're going to get onto that in just a little bit when it comes to Marseille, but Roma just don't have the assets, and they're not willing to sell some of their prized assets to go and get an Igor Paixão. Doesn't make any sense. Now, what did we learn last night? What did we learn late last night? Leeds United have submitted a bid. Okay, according to a very, very, very reputable Dutch source, very close to Feyenoord as well. Leeds United have submitted a bid of around about 35 million euros. Okay, so 35 million euros doesn't make any, when it comes to Leeds United. Okay, now we are the club right now who can afford more than the rest. That is just 100% true. Leeds United, and especially with sales that we've got going on. Now, when you look at Marseille, they brought 7 players in. 7 players in. But the key thing to note here is when they brought these 7 players in, including CJ Egan-Riley of Burnley, they've only spent 20 million euros. Why? Because they're waiting to spend big on a marquee signing. Okay, something to bear in mind when it comes to Aubameyang, obviously coming in Marseille. Something to bear in mind as well with Tim Weah. Marseille will not go above 15 million euros. What do Juventus want? 20 million euros. Marseille won't go above it. What does this scream to me about Marseille? They're waiting for that marquee signing, but they're trying to bring players in. They're trying to close the gap between them and PSG. Okay, they've got the Champions League money as well. Now, what they are doing still, Marseille, is paying heavy installments on Mason Greenwood. That was a structured deal of which it was delayed into 4 installments. They are still paying off that deal for Mason Greenwood. That's something to bear in mind when it comes to deals. So kind of what are you looking at right now when it comes to a payment up front? Well, Feyenoord wanted a large payment up front and a sell-on clause. That was structured in Feyenoord's deal. That's what they want when it comes to specific requirements when it comes to Paixão's deal. Now, when you're kind of doing the number crunching, it looks like up front, when you're looking at Marseille reports, when you're looking at Dutch reports, when you're even looking at the reports of what they're allowed to spend when it comes to Marseille this season without player sales. Really, they're probably about to spend and allowed to spend upfront on this deal of 15 to 20 million euros. Okay, so that would be upfront. The rest of it has to be a structured deal up to around about 35 million euros. So that means that it can be spread over 18 months to 24 months, maybe even further. Some deals can actually go to 48 months. Dan James's to Leeds wasn't far off from that. So to push to 35 million euros, Marseille need a sale. They need a sale, okay? Now, here comes a name of which we've not heard of in a while, Anahi. Asamin Anahi, a name of which Leeds were linked to a long time ago now in the midfield, has obviously gone to Marseille, Algerian, I believe. Now, he's the player right now who could help Marseille in this deal and this structure right now. He looks to be potentially going to Girona for around about 5 million quid. This, according to reports, would then be added to the budget of Marseille. Okay, would be added to the budget. And this would mean that they would be able to afford maybe a little bit more when it comes to the Igor Paixão deal. But when it comes to the money up front, Marseille can only afford a certain amount of which Feyenoord won't accept. Okay, so that's the facts that we know right now. But the only way that they're able to afford a inflated fee for Igor Paixão is if they have player sales. Okay, now when it comes to Unahi, this would help the spread of amortization when it comes to Paixão. This is something we all know. Okay, so what do we know about amortization? Obviously, it's spreading a player's transfer fee over the length of a contract to reduce the yearly financial impact on the books. Okay, you get a phone contract for 1,000 quid as a payment plan. You spread that 200 quid over 5 years. That's amortization if you're not aware. So Leeds making the bid last night. It feels where we're at right now is if this Anahi deal goes through to Girona, which it looks likely, that might be what Marseille are depending on when it comes. And this is maybe what is dragging this out. Okay, this Anahi deal looks like it's going to happen with Girona. If you to read specific reports, he's part of the bomb squad. Marseille don't want him anymore. And if this happens, this money is going straight back into their transfer budget. This is maybe where the delay is. Maybe Marseille is saying, look, we've got 10 players of which they have on their bomb squad this season, which they're trying to get rid of. Anahi, if he goes, that will bring in the money for Igor Paixão. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Don't sell him to Leeds. We will be able to spread this out. The issue is Leeds United right now should, in effect, be able to afford a hell of a lot more. Okay, so Leeds made the bid last night of around about 35 million euros, which is, if you're to believe reports, around 30 million quid. How I see this happening with Leeds, okay, how I see this happening is outstripping Marseille with this upfront bid and the structure of the deal. But you've got to go big. Now, is that going to be financially prudent for Leeds United? Does that make sense? That is the question. Will Leeds do this? Apparently, Paixão's the #1 target, but what we've got to bear in mind is Paixão is also Marseille's #1 target, okay? So they're going to move heaven and earth to go and get him. If that means selling 2 players so that they can afford him, there's a little bit of wiggle room when it comes to amortization as well. When it comes to Paixão's deal, they will do that. When it comes to maybe a little bit more money up front in a structured deal, they will do that. So Roma are out the picture. Marseille can make this happen, though. They've got assets on their books right now which they can sell. And Ahi been a key one of those who might be going to Girona. They can add that to the transfer budget. But Leeds can outstrip Marseille budget-wise. They can. We've not really spent money on a marquee signing yet. We've got player sales, which will happen, especially when you're looking at probably the likes of Alai Gruev, Matteo Joseph. They can put those against the signing of Igor Paixão. Money up front is going to be key. A higher fee overall when it comes to outstripping Marseille. I think you get closer to the 35 million euro limit. That's them out the picture. I don't think they'll be able to go much more than that. You know, when you're looking at the player sales that Marseille may get, it's not going to be massive amounts. They have got to be careful this year as well. They are flying close to that limit of which, you know, we are all very aware of when it comes to PSR. They are still spending installments on the likes of Mason Greenwood. Leeds are going to have to have a direct line with the agent, a direct line with Paixão's agent, and there's going to have to be massive conversations there when it comes to agent fees, bonuses for Paixão. They're going to have to offer more. They're going to have to offer more up front. And they're going to have to convince him with this line of Rafinha. They're going to have to do it. They're going to have to say to him, look, if you impress in 2 years, Madrid might come in for you. Seriously. If you impress in 2 years, you'll be off. Okay, and this is why the sell-on clause is so important. Because Leeds United simply cannot afford to spend 35 million quid on Paixão and effectively have a sell-on clause on him, which is going to outstrip a lot of the profit that we would maybe make on him, especially with the predicament that we might be in. They've also got to negotiate a relegation release clause in there, obviously, which he wouldn't have to do at Marseille. So there's a lot of complications around this deal, in my opinion. This is why I keep saying this is going to go on till the end of the window, it feels. However, what I will say is the report early on from the Dutch side that Leeds United have submitted the bid said that this is moving, and the word was rapidly. Rapidly. But what we know right now is Marseille could afford a certain amount when it comes to the deal because of the assets that they can sell on and the assets that are getting sold on very credibly to other teams right now, which obviously could spread amortization, could add to the transfer kitty. Roma out the picture. There's no way Roma can afford him. So it's between us and them again, which it kind of was reported anyway, that it was between us and them for Tim Weah as well. But we'll have to wait and see. Do you move on? Do you look elsewhere? Do you get held to ransom? Leeds United have been shrewd negotiators, in my opinion, in this window, not spending 20 million quid over a single player yet. When you're looking at the three that we've brought in, who I'm so happy with when it comes to Biol, Stack, and Lucas Perri. But there is going to have to be he is a needle mover, but there is going to have to be a needle mover as well when it comes to Leeds United in this transfer. Because it's going to be a tough one. He evidently prefers Marseille, which I don't find a problem. Marseille have got one of the world's best coaches there. They have Champions League football. They finished second last season. There is no chance of Marseille going down. They have that Champions League aura right now. Leeds United are a newly promoted team with a high likelihood that we go down again. That is a conversation for another day, but there is a likelihood right now. So we've got to bear that in mind. We are part of a roster right now of 20 teams, of which is the highest viewed league in the world, which is a big thing. We have got Rafinha. Rafinha is such an ace card in terms of the proof of what can happen to you if you stick to your principles when it comes to Leeds United. And by the way, he'll be surrounded by better players than what Rafinha was surrounded with. So that's going to help his career. But it's whether or not that goes far enough to convince Igor Paixão and his agent that Leeds United is the move for him. I think the fee is going to be fine with Leeds. I think we can afford it. I think we're willing to do it as well. He's clearly our number one target and has been all along. It's just whether or not the player wants to move. And this is it. I think he can force a move out of Feyenoord. We've seen that with Alexander Isak recently. It's just whether or not, I mean, personal terms have been agreed with Marseille. It seems quite vague that personal terms have been agreed with Leeds United. It doesn't look like that's happened yet. It looks more of like the fee. Feyenoord are waiting to give their response on the fee, but it looks like they will agree to the fee with Leeds United because we've made that marker up of what they wanted, 35 million euros. It's just whether or not the player wants to move. I think that's where we're at right now. That's where we're at. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Guys, we've got 1,900 of you in the building. Slap a like on the video. We're just going to get into a few comments. Daniel Agar says, morning, Connor. I can see the main targets for Leeds will go to deadline day. That's kind of how I'm feeling, Daniel, when it comes to specific players, and we're going to get into the why and whereabouts of that in a second. Kim says, I saw an article that Marseille are now looking at Ryan Kent, and no, it's not even a joke. Yeah, I mean, the good thing is when it comes to publicising certain targets, they won't do it. When it comes to Marseille, reports have suggested, and I mentioned yesterday, I've got a funny feeling there might be a certain Leeds target in Armand Loriente that may be their secondary option, of which they could definitely afford. Has played in France before and has had an excellent last season at Sassuolo in Serie B. He could be an option there who I think would really, really suit Ligue 1 as well. There are other targets you would expect, maybe even Bakwa, obviously we were interested in at Strasbourg. But this is one that both clubs clearly really want. And the article with Baron Cross was quite interesting because he mentioned that almost the combined fee of Rodrigo Muniz and Igor Paixão would have been 60 million quid. There's no way that happens for me anyway. At least like with a complete package of both. I don't think you get Igor Paixão for 30 or variations in and around maybe like 35, 32, 33. I don't think you get him and then Rodrigo Muniz for what, 25, 30 million quid as well. I don't think that happens. I think Leeds are going to have to go way and above. And whether or not Leeds can definitely work around that, everybody, for me. We can definitely work around that when it comes to player sales. That's why they're looking for Mateo Joseph for 10 to 15 million quid. Because if you do that, then that once again helps with pure profit and it helps with Leeds' books, balancing the accounts. So that genuinely helps. Alaïguev maybe going out for a certain amount of money as well. You might have to press the button on Pascal Struijk, although I don't think that will happen now after Daniel Farke's effectively these quotes saying, we're not doing anything central midfield and centre defenders. So yeah, let's get into a few of your comments. 70 million on 7 players is insane, Connor. Look at Sunderland now struggling. It's probably the perfect place that I should do this Leeds United comps. And I'm going to just mention this as well, mate. This was actually my last point. I've seen a lot of this, okay? I've seen a lot of this. And it is the comparison with Leeds and Sunderland. So if you want me to be brutally honest, which I always am on this channel, Sunderland have done very good business. Very, very good business. What do they need to do? Centre-backs, goalkeeper, arguably a centre-forward, although we were talking about Isidore maybe making that step up. Eliza Meander had a fantastic end to the season as well. A lot of physical traits that could transition into the Premier League, but I do think they need another attacker. But Sunderland have had a very good window. They've had an exceptional window. Diarra is a phenomenal signing. Siddiqui is a very good signing. Granit Xhaka will be an unbelievable signing. Talbi at Club Bruges is a flair player, but he's a very decent player. Adingra, I've mentioned this before. I think he'd have been a very good addition for Arsenal as an alternative to Noni Madueke if they were looking at someone else. I think he'd have been a really good addition. Reinildo coming in, his experience and a little bit of competition with Dennis Sirkin. Sunderland have done some really good business, guys. And it would be interesting if we'd done some of that business to see what Leeds fans thought. But we can't take away from that. They brought in a lot of floor raisers. I think our floor raisers have been very decent so far. But I think what sets us apart from a Sunderland right now is bringing in Igor Paixão and a Rodrigo Muniz. I think that's what sets us apart. I think we brought in 3 floor raisers, Gabby Goodmanson and Junior Firpo. We'll wait and see on that one. I think Gabby Goodmanson, I'm buzzing with that signing, by the way, a regular for Lille in Ligue 1 over the past however many seasons. Bornau, I would expect that sort of signing as rotation. Longstaff, I would have expected Leeds to go in for Premier League proven experience at whatever stage that is. And then you're kind of looking at, obviously, Perri, Biol, Stack, which I think are the 3 best signings and definitely floor raisers. But comparing us to Sunderland right now, I think is a little bit dangerous. They've got things to do. We've got things to do. But if we bring in those 2 differentials in Muniz and Paixão, they're going to be massive, massive signings. And that's why these guys are the biggest targets that Leeds have. And these are the ones that we're working on, because these are the ones that keep Leeds United in the Premier League, quite simply. Quite simply. Obviously, the others add to it massively, but you're attacking players and how good they are when you bring them in are going to be like the marquee signings. And Leeds know this, hence why they're willing to spend the bigger bucks on the players going forward. But I just think it's a little bit dangerous to compare ourselves to Sunderland right now. So I think when you look at the overall spread of the squad right now, I think Sunderland have addressed a few more positions. When you're looking at left wing, right wing, you're looking at the entire double pivot, central midfielder in Xhaka coming in as well, left back depth. So yeah, listen, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But I think it's just a little bit dangerous comparing both, because I think Sunderland have had a really, really good window so far. I think Leeds have had a really, really good window so far. But I think we would have, what I will say as a caveat is, if Leeds United go out and bring in Rodrigo Muniz, if they go out and bring in a Jaffa Tanganga, by the way, who's rumoured as of 10 days ago with Burnley, we go out and get a Jaffa Tanganga for a 2 million release clause. You go out and get Muniz and Paixão. That is a 10 out of 10 window. It's a 10 out of 10 window. And Leeds United's owners couldn't have done much more. And, if you get an equivalent of both of them, it'd maybe make it an 8, a 9 out of 10 window, depending on who they are. But if Leeds United go out and sign Rodrigo Muniz and Igor Paixão and a Jaffa Tanganga as fullback rotation, and maybe a backup GK, a younger backup GK, Leeds have had the best window in my lifetime. And they've addressed every single problem scenario that I think we've had. you know, whilst doing good outgoings as well. The sales are really important here as well, so something to bear in mind. Okay, let's get into a few of your comments as well. Leverkusen might not let Xhaka go. Yeah, maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. It's looking massively like CDK. For me, we don't get him. It's going to be a tough one, definitely. Now that Josh... this is Jack, I know it is. Now that Josh Sargent pulled out the Wolfsburg moves, do you think the Leeds... Mate, he's not good enough. How many times do I need to tell you? He is not good enough. I don't care if he does well down there. He isn't good enough. It's nowhere near good enough, mate. He's not efficient enough. He's not efficient enough in front of goal. 15 goals last season doesn't do it for me. I'm not convinced on him. I still think he's too rash in the Premier League. I don't think he'd be able to make that transition. Hence why there would have been a lot more clubs in for Josh Sargent if they thought he was Premier League level. For me. Personally, I can't wait to see Nonto in the Premier League again. He's going to surprise everyone. Agreed, Connor. A+ if we get that. Tanganga has a 1.6 million release clause. Connor, I think the 49ers won't get carried away by Paixao and will probably walk away if the price gets too high. 100%, mate. And that's I guess the issue with it. That is the conversation we have with it as well, you know. And we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see, I guess, when it comes to it. Okay. He turns the page. I've not been triggered at all in this window. But I made a video last night. I thought it was a pretty good video last night. Go check it out if you want, everybody. I did say Lucas Perri has been. I'm calling him Perri because he comes from the French league, even though he's Brazilian. I feel a little bit more established saying it. You know what I mean? But I've been speaking about him a lot, and I have to say, do you want me to be brutally honest? I was a little bit triggered last night. I put a video up of 5 things to expect from him, and I get football subjective. I get football's a game of opinions, and I love that. And we encourage that with the DDD, discourse, debate, discussion, every single morning. And I love that. I love opinions in football. You go to the pub, there'll be 2 or 3 mates with opinions, and you turn around with your other 6 mates and go, is he mad? But you have a laugh about it and have a pint afterwards, and those 3 mates might be right. You know, it's very much like the YouTube space. You know what I mean? You might think someone's an absolute monster with some opinion, but they might be right at the end of the day, and it might be a different opinion to yours, and vice versa. It's not an echo chamber over here. But I have to speak about this guy. I have to speak about the reaction that I was seeing online to his last 40 shots, which shout out to Jack. I think Jack LUFC 1919 on Twitter is a really good account, was speaking about it. I think the reaction online has been mental. So if you're not aware and if you're not part of the online sphere, which is fine, you know, it is a nut house over there at points as it is over here. There's been a lot of negative reaction to Lucas Perri, and especially on my video yesterday, there's been a couple of comments of which I'm looking at, and I had to stop myself because I was going back with some of them. I thought, look, it's fine. It's fine. Ian Jackson, I think, is in the building. Shout out to you, Ian, for your opinion. I completely disagree with it. I think Ian was talking about Melee being as good as Perri, which I thought was mental. But I think I wanted to just get into some of the conversation around him. So a lot of it is the positives about Perri is his reactions, his save percentage, the dependability he had last season, which he was available for 33 out of 34 games, which has clearly been a key target for Leeds United to try and get, well, when it comes to the first 11 stack, be-all, etc., players who are available consistently. The rotation play is a little bit different. But I want to talk about Lyon as well and their defensive record, which has been a consistent problem for around about 2 or 3 years now. You look at Mikatadze, who we were speaking about on the channel not long ago. You look at Lacazette, who I believe got around about 15, 16 goals. Ryan Cherky. Going forward, they're always a delight, Lyon, to watch. They've got a lot of flair players, a lot of exuberance in attack. But even when you looked at them against Man United in the European competition not long ago, they're consistently exploited with overloads, and they're consistently exploited through the middle, which if you consistently exploited through the middle and out wide, you've got a sheer defensive problem. At the back, they've got a mix of players of which are maybe a little bit over the hill in Tagliafico. We look at Mata, we look at others as well. But then they've got a real blend of kids in there as well who maybe haven't hit that level yet. And it's all come to basically Lyon conceding 1.46 goals per game on average, which is not great for a side that's finished 6th. Basically, you know, they're scoring a lot of goals to keep themselves in that position. Defensively, they're vulnerable, and they should be in sort of a, when it comes to statistics, they're in the bottom half of Ligue 1 when it comes to statistics. Now, who's been the shining light of that back five? That guy, who this season by Paulo Fonseca, his boss, was called the best goalkeeper in the world. He's got a Brazilian national call-up. He's got a 75% save percentage, I should say, which is the best in the league. His distribution's been decent this year. He's not an elite distributor, but neither was Milinkovic-Savic, who's probably a little bit better than Perri, but we've spoken this season about Leeds going route one a little bit more and bypassing that press, which will aid it, you know, hitting the front man in Rodrigo Muniz and getting the technical players, Paixao, Ramazani, James, Nonto, all in around him, feeding off bits, which we've even seen in pre-season when it comes to Leeds' direct style of play at points, especially against Man United. So I think there's a lot of context when it comes to Lucas Perri. He didn't make a single error all last season. And I think when you look at Lyon at the back, and especially in the midfield where there's been problems, there's huge problems at the start of last season where some people in the French media actually thought they were going to be in a relegation scrap because of how poorly constructed the defensive midfield was. There's been a sheer problem when it's come to the structure of Lille, and as I've just mentioned, the organisation. But this guy has been the shining light. The shining light. Hence why he's been put up there when it comes to assets and assets being stripped with Ryan Cherki, Mikatadze, and this guy, Lucas Perri. So having a Brazil national call, there's been a lot of people talking about his kicking. Okay, well, he doesn't have to kick. He just throws it. Go and check his throws. This guy's throws are insane. And that's how he effectively helps when it comes to a counter-attack and a transition. Okay? Launches that ball. He doesn't have to do it with his feet. If you're not convinced by his kicking, he'll do it with his arm instead. And he really facilitates a counter-attacking style, which I think is really good movement from the Leeds United scouts when they've moved for Perri. And to be fair, when they were looking at Milinkovic-Savic, because he does something very, very similar in terms of kicking the ball and trying to get Torino on that counter-attacking transition very quickly. So clearly Leeds United had a profile of player of which they were going for. But when you look at Milinkovic-Savic, you look at Nick Pope, you look at Lucas Perri, they're not exceptional with the feet. Not exceptional, but something that I think makes Perri stand out a little bit more is his sweeper keeper attributes. So stuck on his line, I've heard as criticism, stuck on his line. A lot of that can be instruction from Paulo Fonseca. If you're to believe reports from in and around the camp, Daniel Farke did encourage Illan Melee to punch. But Melee, I think, did that off his own regard, to be honest with you, because he's always done it. So that's not Daniel Farke's fault at all. But you do wonder with Farke, maybe where he thought, well, when the ball comes in with Illan, he's not going to catch it. And when he does catch it, he drops it. So why don't we encourage that punch? I think that was probably a smart move from Daniel Farke, to be honest with you. But the beautiful thing about Perri is if you don't want him on his line, if you don't want him to be conservative, then ask him to come off his line. Ask him to come out and catch it because he's got a good handling rate as well. Aerial duels is in the 75% percentile. So I think when you look at it, his height, 6'5", his sweeper keeper attributes, his pass accuracy of around 73%, his save percentage of around 75%, the highest in Ligue 1. The standout in a very, very below average Lyon defense. I find it crazy. I have to say, I find it absolutely mental. Some of the reaction has been mind-boggling. I think his reflexes are very good. He stands tall. A lot of people are saying he doesn't go down quick enough. That was the criticism with Illan Melee. That was the whole problem. He went down too quick. You need a keeper in certain situations, especially when it's 1v1s, to stand tall, use your frame, make you big, make yourself big. So I have to say I've been shocked with some of the reaction. It's not all of our fan base, but I think there's been a portion of which just won't be happy. Whoever we sign just won't be happy, and I don't understand that. I have to say I don't understand that. And as I say, football's subjective. You can't be coming out and just saying he's you know what, he's rubbish, he's crap. Melié's better, which I've heard on my comment section. Not good enough, should have got better. And then there's nothing to back it up. You've got to back that up. Yeah, is he a little bit conservative on his line? Of course he is. You know, a little bit conservative, but instruction might help with that. You know, especially with his sweeper keeper attributes, his pace off his line. And as well, the fact he's 6'5". You wanted to encourage him to be less conservative. He's only 27 years of age. When it comes to goalkeeping, that's kids' play. He's a youngster. Keepers go on now till the 36. So when you're getting, a manager a European coach saying he's the best goalkeeper in the world right now, and he's recently got a Brazil national call up. I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's bad. And then, you know, him coming in for 13 million quid, I think that's pretty good business, to be honest with you. Or 15 million quid, whatever it is for Leeds United. And if Lyon weren't in the financial state that they're in, we wouldn't have been getting him for 13 to 15 million quid. So I think Leeds United brought in a really good addition there. Would Milinkovic-Savic have been better? Maybe. Yeah, potentially. Would Nick Pope have been better? Maybe, potentially. But there's faults with all of them. There's faults with all of them. And unfortunately, when you are a newly promoted side, I don't get where the expectation is. I don't understand who are we going to get? Who are we going to go get? You know, are we going to go get, you know, Edison off Man City? Are we going to go maybe put an inquiry in for Alisson? We've got to kind of like dumb down these expectations. You know, when we are going for one of the informed wingers in Europe in Paixao, when we are going for a striker in Rodrigo Muniz, who's got 14 goal contributions in 32 games at 23 years of age, and he's our main target. When we're going in for Anton Stack, who in central midfield has had some of the best Bundesliga stats in the last 3 years, definitely top 5 Bundesliga central midfielders or defensive midfielders, if you want to put him in that bracket. Gabby Goodmanson, who we've got in for 10 million quid, who's been a regular for Lille, one of the top 5 clubs in France, for the best part of, what, 2-3 years, maybe even 3-4 years. Someone can fact check me on that. When you go and get a Euro 2024 All-Star in Jakobiol, who had interest across Europe for the amount of money they have, I sometimes just don't. I think some people are wanting to just turn around and say, this is crap, this is rubbish, this is naff, this is I've heard he's crap, and I just don't get it. I've never understood that. I think Leeds United right now are building a really good squad. I think when from Farke, because you've got to look at Daniel Farke and say, well done, especially when you hear the words of Anton Stack. I think Farke clearly has delivered a very good sort of sales pitch to players like Anton Stack and Jakobiol. And I think with the 49ers, especially to say it's Underwood's first campaign, I think they're doing a really solid job. And of course, the window doesn't end now. The window can't end now, because right now, Leeds United go down, in my opinion. Okay, that's the realism of it. Leeds United go down right now. They need to bring in more. We have to bring in more. That's the realism of it. But to criticise this as a signing is fine. It's subjective. But you've then got to come with the facts. You've then got to come with a little bit of quantitative basis. And there's not enough. Lyon's problems this year have been Lyon's problems for 3 years now, especially with the change of coach consistently. And especially, you know, with the financial state they're in now as well. They wouldn't have sold Lucas Perri. Perri would have been an absolute premium if Lyon were, you know, not in this financial oblivion that they're in right now. They've had to go out and inquire about AC Milan's keeper to go and get him on loan. And they need AC Milan to pay the majority of that wage structure. That's how much trouble Lyon are in right now. So I think we've done a really good job here, I have to say. Okay, who's in the building now? We've got 1,800 of you. Make sure you're slapping a like on the video, everybody, and letting us know in the comment section below what's going on. Okay, Xavier says, I built an app that allows your viewers to automatically... mate, we have emails for that. Yeah, thanks anyway. Let's have a look on what you guys are saying on that. Interesting morning all. Hey, Ross, how's it going, mate? He's a keeper. He should be conservative. His job is to stop goals. You could give some people a bag of gold and they would say it's heavy. Yeah, potentially, mate. Potentially. 6'5.5". Well, Connor, it's been 5 years since I've been sub to one lead. Shout out to you, Markham. Hi, Jam. How's it going, mate? Be deadly on transition with DJ, Rama, and hopefully Paixão. I agree with you there, bud. 100%. And that's you know, these players are targeted for specific reasons, aren't they? Especially when it comes to how Leeds are going to be playing. You know, do they need to be unbelievable kickers? Well, if he's not an unbelievable kicker, he's got an arm like a cricketer. Do you know what I mean? He's got an arm like Freddie Flintoff. So if that's almost the replica of his kicking, or should I say the substitute, that's absolutely fine. I'll take that. I'll absolutely take that. And the guy can bowl out to the halfway line, probably aided by the fact he's 6'5" and his reach is unbelievable. So I'll take that. You know, that's another little bit of artillery. So yeah, I think they're doing really well right now when it comes to Leeds. 60-yard throw out, yeah, 100%. Let's have a look. Another bid reported for Paixão. I don't think that's an update from what we've said this morning, mate. I don't think it is, unless you guys obviously need to tag me in it as well on the One Leeds account. If you tag me in it, I'll see it. But let's have a look. Zinny Boswell. Leeds United have made... okay, let's get this up. I normally get this up on screen for you guys. Let's have a quick look on here. If you haven't seen it, and you might have seen it's only been out 4 minutes. Zinny Boswell's a pretty decent source, to be fair. We've been quoting him for a lot of it. Let's have a look. So Zinny said, this is the latest around it. Zinny Boswell says Leeds United have made in excess of 23 million quid for Feyenoord winger Igor Paixão. Leeds were biding their time as Marseille negotiated for the 25-year-old. Olympique Marseille were proposing around 20 million quid, and this offer from LUFC is understood to go beyond that with add-ons. He's clearly the #1 target, isn't he? My God. Okay, and that's Sky Sports as well. Anthony Joseph is Sky Sports, so it's probably as official as you can get, to be honest with you. Do we get him? Anthony Joseph, let's get this out as well. Anthony Joseph from Sky Sports, who is very decent when it comes to being a reputable source. Let's just get his Zinny Boswell quotation up as well. Let's have a look. Okay, these are the other reports as well, so just get that off screen. Update: Leeds have made a bid in excess of 26 million quid for winger Igor Paixão. Leeds United have been biding their time. Olympique Marseille struggling to agree a deal. Leeds bid similar, but with more add-ons. So this would very much come back to what we were talking about earlier on as well when it comes to the level of deal that Marseille are able to actually do, you know. Because I've been doing a lot of digging around Marseille this morning, and it doesn't feel that they can afford a lot. They've still lodged an official bid as well for Tim Weah of 15 million euros, and they won't go higher than that. So they're lowballing Juve as well. And Juve have said, look, it is 20 million euros, or you're not having him. And Juve are quite well known to actually get lowballed consistently. Juve's negotiation is terrible for the majority of the time. And it might be terrible when it comes to Tim Weah, to be fair. That's around 16 million quid, isn't it? But Marseille won't pay it. And that's for another target they've got. So 7 players in during this window, 20 million euros already spent. The structured deal has said that they will only pay around about 15 to 20 million euros up front. And then it's going to be a long-term structured deal, which could be over 48 months, 36, 48 months. If Leeds have faster payments over a 18 to 24 month spell, because we know that Leeds won't pay it all up front, and then they have 30 million euros up front, Marseille can't compete with it. They can't compete with it unless they sell, as I've mentioned before, Unai and probably plenty more. There's going to have to be a few big hitters that leave to be able to afford Igor Paixão. Now, will Paixão turn around and say, no, I want to wait? It's up to him. I want to wait, and I want to deal with Marseille. I want to deal with Marseille, and I want to go next summer or January. That might happen, but they've got to have the money. They've got to have the money. So we'll have to wait and see. But it's interesting, isn't it? Do I think the deal can happen? Let's move back onto him, shall we? I don't know why. I just don't see it happening. I think it's because I've been conditioned with Mickey Cuisance when it comes to Marseille. Tim Weah wasn't a relative link, was he? But it feels like when Marseille and Leeds are on the table, understandably so, Leeds naturally struggle. Champions League, De Zerbi there, you know, arguably a bigger club than us, arguably. Probably are, really, when you look at the general sphere of people's opinion, the public opinion outside Leeds. So the deal could happen, yeah. Leeds have the money. We've got more money, more exposable cash right now than Marseille. That's a fact. That is a fact. It's just whether or not he wants to move. Personal terms haven't been agreed with Leeds. They've been agreed with Marseille. So it's whether or not he wants to come. There is conversation that he wants to play in the Premier League, but there's no. It's all you know, in the ether. Is it you know? Is it consolidated? Whatever. But yeah, there's no way Roma are going to be able to afford him. No way. we'll have to wait and see, I guess. Another CDK, that's it, isn't he? CDK. But he is our focus. He's 100% our focus, you can tell, especially with that sort of money. That would be 26 million quid. We did offer 32, didn't we? £1,000,000, but it was 26 million quid and then plus 6 add-ons. So Leeds have effectively offered the exact same, maybe dependent on what the add-ons are, but they've offered the same fee, standout fee, to what they offered for money is 26 million quid. Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. But we will be here, everybody. We will be here. Listen, make sure you're slapping a like on the video. Really appreciate all of your support, everybody. It's an absolute pleasure to come with you with all the news and all the chat every single morning. There's more and more of you locked in every single day. I think we've had 2,000 concurrent on here. An absolute pleasure. An absolute pleasure for all of you, to all of you for being involved here. Thank you so much. Make sure you got your notification bell switched on. Check out the 5 things we can learn from Lucas Perri last night. 5 things Leeds United fans can expect. It's well worth the view. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'll see you on the other side.